All right, so we are on to the next one. Last one was number 10. Now we're on to number 11. 11 being people almost would rather learn their lesson the hard way, accept that, and avoid being in that group. Now, a lot of people may not know exactly what I mean by that, but there's a lot of things. The first one being you want to try to avoid being in that group. But basic 99% of people, 99% of the time, you're going to have to learn your lesson the hard way. Now, sometimes that doesn't mean something catastrophic, right? I mean, if you look back in your life and you look at a lot of the lessons you've learned and the mistakes you've made, typically you had to make the mistake to learn the lesson, right? And that's what I mean by that. And the other thing that I mean is a lot of people nowadays, they have this pathological, stupid way of thinking about the world that they seem to want to care about people more than they care about themselves. And what I mean by that is constantly thinking that people need to be propped up, people need handouts, yada, yada, yada. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't try to help people. Again, people will try and strawman what I'm saying, but what I am saying is there's a lot of people that no matter how much you try to help them, they're still going to end up in the same situation that they're in, right? And then people, if they could accept that, they would make their own lives a lot better, and they'd make other people's lives a lot better. And the reason for that is that if you simply let them learn their lesson, well, they would get out of the situation, right? But constantly being, you know, for lack of a better word, drug along, right, or strung along, doesn't help people, right? It really doesn't help people. And if you, I'm not going to get political, but if you look at politics, right, I mean, people keep making the same bad decisions over and over again, right? That's the reality of politics, right? There's a lot of people that would rather their lives not get any better if you look actually tangibly, right? But be a part of the winning team, then their lives get better, but be a part of the losing team, right? And that's just the reality of where people are at these days. And again, you just need to accept that, right? I mean, if you look at people that have, millions of followers, like their ability to influence politics is still very, very low, right? If significant at all, right? So why do you think that you're going to make a significant difference? So again, I'm not saying you don't try, but again, um, being disappointed when the other team gets elected, it's like you're setting yourself up for failure, right? And what I mean by that is, again, people are going to learn their lesson the easy way or the hard way. I think this is something that we're seeing in the West, is that we seem to think that doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result is the way to go. Um, but again, that's a different story in and of itself. If you look at people around you, again, like it's the classic, treat others how you'd want to be treated the first time, and after that, you treat them how they treat you, right? And if you offer them helpful advice or you try and help them and they blow you off or they don't listen, well, why would you keep helping them? And this goes for strangers as well. It's like, look at how many people try and help other people, but yet they get right back to their rock bottom way of living, basically, right? I mean, giving people more money, people who are in very poor financial straits, giving them money very rarely actually helps. The odd person it will, but most people it won't, right? Giving people free healthcare typically doesn't help, right? Because the reason that people are in the bad place, the bad position in the first place, is that they make very bad decisions with money, very bad decisions with their health, right? Again, if we could stop rewarding bad decisions as a society, we would be a lot better off, right? Now, again, not saying we don't try to help people. All I'm saying is that there should be some emphasis put on how do we de-incentivize bad decisions, right? And how do we incentivize good decisions, right? And again, people need to accept that certain bad things are going to go on. right? People need to accept that, right? You need to accept that, again, a lot of people, you can try and help them as much as you want. They're not gonna better themselves, right? I mean, you can give people all the secrets in the world, right? I mean, honestly, like you can get like top-notch professional investing advice on YouTube, but yet how many people utilize that? You can get top-notch, parenting advice online for free, and yet probably the majority of parents out there these days are not good by any means. You can get top-notch health advice for free, but yet what percentage of the population is overweight, right? So if there's a endless amount of free professional advice and again, I'm just picking out these topics. There's a lot of other ones, and yet people still are in their bad decision, like their bad state of whatever. Like nothing you're going to do is going to help them, right? Voting for this team or that team, very unlikely it's going to help them, right? So again, you need to accept that and move on. And you also need to recognize when you're a part of that group, right? Because everybody has been a part of this in some way, shape, or form, right? I mean, the big lessons, the big aha moments almost always come when you make a really big mistake or when you're at rock bottom, right? Those are when you have the choice to, again, it's the classic, you either have the choice of discipline or the pain of discipline, right? The choice being you choose to discipline yourself, right? In that you eat healthy, you save your money, those kind of things. Or the pain, you don't save your money and inevitably you'll run into financial issues. You are unhealthy and inevitably you'll run into health issues, at least chances are, right? That's your options, right? So why would you not choose, right? The choosing discipline. Why would you not choose that? Right? And to me, like I said, given that there's an endless amount of free advice. Now again, I'm not saying it's all good, right? I mean, there's a lot of bad advice, but there's a lot of if you know how to decipher good from bad, and in my opinion, it's not that hard. There's an endless amount of free professional advice out there. So in my opinion, there's really no excuse, right? The odd person will fall through the cracks. Like there's some people that legitimately are victims, but most people who like to portray themselves as victims are not victims, right? And you always want to avoid, even if you are a victim, right? You always want to avoid portraying yourself as the victim at all costs, right? I mean, if you look at Holocaust survivors, this is something that people like, what Happiest Man on Earth, I'm completely blanking on his name, I'm completely blanking on the other very famous guy who wrote a book also. Again, their basically entire worldview is I'm not a victim. You need to stay positive. That was essentially, I mean, summed up as dumbed down as, and it was more complicated than that, but as dumbed down as you can possibly get it, being I'm not a victim. You need to stay positive no matter what, right? So again, not saying that it's easy by any means. I can only imagine what it was like being in the Holocaust. My God. But again, if you want to be successful, it's what you got to do. So anyway, that's what I wanted to bring up today. If you liked the video, hit that like and subscribe. I appreciate all the support and stay tuned for more.